Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to ATP Live Monday. All right, so I'm going to just share the videos while waiting for everyone to join me. All right, good evening, Instagram. I can see some of you joining already. Thank you so much for coming. I'm just going to share the video, and let's all do the same. Let's just share the video and then we can start ATP Live Monday. How has your day been? I hope you've had a beautiful day. I guess Monday is always very busy for most people, myself inclusive, but glad to be here. So welcome to ATP Live Monday. That sounds like a song I'm singing. All right, welcome to ATP Live Monday. For those of you who are new, ATP Live Monday is a program where you get to ask any questions that you may have about the health of your children, and I'll do my best to answer them in the next 1 hour. My name is Bemisela Boyde. I'm a pediatrician, and I'm the CEO founder, Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. And Ask Pediatricians Foundation, we're committed to the health and welfare of all children globally, more importantly, those who live in sub-Saharan Africa and Nigeria specifically, where we see have a lot of our children dying from preventable causes. And what we do on ATP is to empower parents, caregivers of our children on, health education, health information that will enable them to be able to take care of the children well, and also advise you when you need to come to see us in the hospitals. So welcome. So this ATP Live program. ATP Live Monday is one of our programs where you can ask questions about the health of your children. It's just for 1 hour. It's just to create awareness. However, if you have questions beyond the live session, you can always go to our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group, and you can always ask your questions on our groups from Mondays to Saturdays. We're always there 24 7 24/6, I guess, because we're not there on Sundays, but Mondays through Saturdays, 24 hours each of those days. You can ask your questions and we will give you answers from a professional perspective. I guess that's the difference between ATP and many other groups, that parents groups on social media. You can take answers from ATP to the bank because you're getting it from a pediatrician, and that's our focus. So we also do teachings on Thursdays, which you can listen to on Fresh Wave Radio, on our podcast, on all our Facebook groups, on our YouTube channel, on Instagram. So please follow us on social media so you can always get to know when we are having all these programs and so that you can learn. And of course, we have our website where you can read. We also have our podcast, Ask Dr. Baby TV podcast, where you can listen to all these videos or watch them. It's available on almost all the podcast platform, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. You can listen to them. Just Google Ask Dr. Baby TV podcast. And then yes, I think those are all the platforms. Then, of course, we have our YouTube channel where you can also watch all these videos, all the past ones on almost any topic that has to do with the health of your children. All right, I was saying all that so that I can use that time to share the links, and I think I've done all that right now. Okay. So, welcome everyone. If you have any questions, this is the time to start putting your questions on the platform, and I will try to start answering them. Just some basic housekeeping announcement. When you ask questions for a pediatrician, please start with the age of the child. The age of the child is the most important information because, as pediatricians, we deal with a wide population spectrum from age of 0 second old. In fact, we deal with some of the babies in the womb as well. So babies that have been born and to children who are like 18 years old. So it's a wide spectrum. It's not like adults where everybody is weighing 70 kilos and everybody get the same treatment. But for children, your treatment is usually tailored and very specific to your age group. So always start your question with the age of the child. Try and keep the information about the child concise, straightforward, and concise. Don't give us irrelevant information because if your story is too long, StreamYard or Facebook, they will cut it short and they won't be able to answer you. If you have questions like rashes and all that, because we need to see some of those ones, it's better to post that on our Facebook group with a picture of the rash, and then we can answer that. So I think those are the basic housekeeping announcement. So otherwise, you're welcome now to start asking your questions, and we'll try and answer them in the next 1 hour. So welcome. Welcome. I can't see any question yet, so I guess people are just settling down. And if you're watching the recording, like if this is not 6 p.m. West African time on a Monday evening, then most likely you're watching a recording. And if you're watching a recording, you're welcome to just listen and learn from the questions that others have asked. But if you still have questions after watching the recording, you are welcome to just go to our Facebook group and post it there. Sometimes people don't remember that they are watching a recording, and I see people dropping questions after we're no longer live. It would be difficult for us to track every comment on our post and answer them. So, but if you want us to answer that question, the best thing would be to go back to our Facebook group and post your questions there, and we'll be able to answer them. All right. And for those of us who are watching on our Facebook group, you have to click on the video. Previously, we were able to stream directly into the Facebook groups, but that has been removed now. So you're only watching the video from our page that has been shared through the group. So if you are just watching just to learn, that's fine. But if you want to ask a question, you have to click on the video and then drop your questions directly under the video, and then that is when I can see it from my hand here. All right, but right now I don't have any questions, so I guess other people are just settling down. If you have asked a question on Instagram, maybe when I was still busy sharing and uh, pinning the questions, I mean the links in the groups, please feel free to post your question again because it must have ruled off out of sight. So feel free to ask your questions, and I'm here to answer them. I think, yeah, that's all the announcement that I have. I hope you all listened to my webinar that I took on Thursday about how to choose appropriate care child care center for your children. If you have not listened to that, I encourage you to listen to it. It's so important for us as parents that wherever we're keeping our children for 6 hours, 8 hours, when we're not at home or when they're not in our care, we need to make sure that it's a safe place. And so that teaching will be very helpful for any one of us that are in that scenario. It's so important that we make sure that our children are safe wherever we keep them when they're not in our care. So that's what we talked about last week, and it was born out of the experience of some news that have come out of Lagos, Nigeria in the last 1 month, in fact less than a month, because the January is not yet over. So it's so important for us to know that, to avoid stories that touch. Okay, if you have questions, ask questions. I can't see any questions today. I don't know what's going on. I can see people watching me, but I guess people watching me do not have questions, which is fine. Sometimes people just are okay and they don't have any questions. Then that's good. That means that we are very um, up to date, I guess. That's what it means. And it means our children are doing fine. That's good. Yesterday, one person sent us a message on our WhatsApp um, number. Just to let us know that our WhatsApp number is only for if you are trying to book an appointment. And I think that the person I think sent a message from South Africa, and this is a child who is wheezing, and the child is having fast breathing and wheezing, and the person is trying to book a virtual, like a chat with a pediatrician on what are the home remedies and all that. And of course, I have to tell her, you need to call an ambulance now. You need to take this child to the hospital. I think I need to, we've done it before, but I always like to reiterate it for us to recognize there are some conditions that we call emergencies in medicine generally, or pediatrics specifically. There are things that when it's happening, it is not a time for you to say, I want to look for home remedies. I know we love home remedies. I like them too, but everything is not home remedies. There are certain things that are not home remedies. They are what we call emergencies. So when your child is having an emergency situation, you don't go on Facebook, you don't try to send a message to Ask the Pediatrician's Facebook group or our WhatsApp number. You need to be going to the hospital straight away. Okay, so a child who is having any form of issues with their breathing is an emergency. It's an emergency because children uh, normally have to breathe through their nose, and they, when people collapse, it's either their heart failed or their respiration failed. That's what we call it cardiopulmonary. Cardio is the heart, pulmonary is the lungs. So those are the two vital organs that we all need for life, for to be alive, more or less. So your heart must be beating, and you must be breathing through your lungs. And so if any of them stop, that person needs to be resuscitated. That's why they call it cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Now, why am I going with that? Anything that affects the breathing of a child is is a very serious issue, because it means that child is very close to getting to respiratory failure, and that means that child is close to dying. That is it. So that anything that has to do with breathing, we don't have so much time. It's better to come to us when the child is still breathing and we can quickly deal with it, than to come when the child stop breathing, because children, respiratory failure is the first thing to go in children, unlike the adults where it's their hearts that tends to go first. And because adults tend to have a reserve of all the oxygen and all that in their blood, so we can see shock the heart, do a lot of things. But for children, once their respiration is gone, we're really struggling to bring them back. So once a child starts having issues that has to do with their breathing, it's an emergency. That child needs to go to the hospital. It's not home remedy at all. A child who is breathing fast, a child who is wheezing, most of the time we need to give them oxygen. Most of the time we need to support that respiration. And we have to support it when the child is still making the efforts. When the child stops making the efforts, that is it. So I just felt I would bring up that scenario. Eventually, I was able to talk to the parent, and I believe that she was able to call an ambulance and get to the hospital. So there are situations that is not home remedy. So breathing difficulties is not home remedy. A child who is having convulsions is hospital. There is no home remedy for convulsion. There are two options. You can wait for the convulsion to stop on its own. Most of them will stop within seconds. The child may just have, either they go stiff or they checks. That is what we call conversion, or they may have other form of seizure, but most of them tends to stop within a few seconds, maybe max 1 minute. But if it is not stopping within 1 minute, or keeps going on, you have to take the child to the hospital. Usually, depending on where you have, in most places, you should just call an ambulance to come and pick the child. But if you live in places like Nigeria where we don't have quick access to ambulance services, you can just take the child to any hospital that is the closest to your house that you can walk in or that you can run into, because at that point they can stop the conversion. And most of the drugs we give to stop conversion, they are injections. In some countries where children tend to have conversion a lot, we have some drugs that you can give into their cheek. We call it bucolam, and it can stop conversion. Or there are some we can put in their anus, because when a child is conversing, they cannot swallow anything at that time. They can aspirate it. So we don't try to give them anything that's going to go through the mouth. Instead, we give them something that can go through the cheeks in, or we give them something that can go through their anus, or we have to give them injections. So the best option is to go to the hospital. So please, if you have questions, feel free to ask your question. I'm just talking because nobody's asking question. I'm just giving general knowledge kind of information. So a child who is conversing has to go to the hospital. Even if the conversion stop, you still have to go to the hospital, because the conversion is not the main issue. The main issue is, why is the child conversing? So I did answer a question last week about a child who is have what look like seizures. The child suddenly stopped. Conversions are actually very dramatic, or seizures generally. There's always like a beginning, there's always like an end, and it's like the child is not around or aware what is going on at that time. So so it's important that we do the right things and all that. So I'm just checking out. There's something wrong with our Facebook, because this one I can't see anybody commenting. So if you're watching me on Facebook, just comment. Let me know it's not a problem from my hand, so I can see. Yeah. Okay. So Major Evans, welcome. Our consistent. If you're on Facebook, just comment. Let me know you can comment. Let me know it's not for StreamYard issue, because I find it very unusual. Okay, good evening, Timmy Talk my hand. Good, thank you for comments. I just want to be sure it's not StreamYard making people not to comment. All right, thank you for confirming that to me. All right, so we're still talking about emergencies. So I've talked about conversion. I've talked about a child who is breathing fast or with difficulties for any reason. You have to go to the hospital. Thank you, Felicia. Welcome. So Major Evers is on Instagram and is asking, how do you stop choking in a child? That's another very important question. A child who is choking is also an emergency, and children can choke. And unfortunately, that one you have to deal with it yourself. Most of the time, you can't go to the hospital because it's an emergency. Well, I guess you will have to go to the hospital, but if you will have to quickly deal with it before you even get to hospital. So the way to do shocking. Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Facebook people. I now know you are there. Thank you. All right. It's very difficult when you're talking to yourself alone. You won't know whether people are listening to you or not. All right. So if a child is choking, depending on the age of the child, usually for babies, infants less than 1 year old, you can just put them on the back of your palm. I didn't have a model. I really wish I have one. So you just put the baby lying flat. But if you go to our Facebook group, just type choking. We have a video on it, and we have demonstration about it. Or you can just Google it on YouTube as well. You will see it as well. So what you need to do is give them what we call back slap. So if you put the child, I'm looking for something. Let me try use my phone. Let's say you put the child on your palm like that, and then you just give them back slap like that. If you do that, you turn the child face down and give them like 5 back slap. If you do that, whatever is blocking the child's airway will come out and all that, and they will be fine. For the older children, maybe they are choking on ground. Now that's why some things you don't give children. We don't give children things that are toys. That's why when you buy toys, we always see on it that is written, don't use in children less than 3 years old. Any toy that have small parts, we don't want you to use in children that can put it in the mouth and choke on it. We don't want you to give those kind of children granola. If you want to give them granola, you have to either blend it or match it and all that. So things like that. There are things we don't give to children, not because eating the food itself is a problem, but because they can choke on it. If you want to give them things like apples and all that, you have to cut it into tiny pieces. So you don't give them all these round grapes and stuff. They can choke on it. So if they are choking on maybe the food, the meat, or the maybe one of the toys, they put it in their throat and they're struggling to breathe. So you can also do what we call, apart from the back slap, which is very easy for the younger babies. For the older children, you can do what we call Emlich maneuver. You go behind them and you put one hand around them and put the other hand around them, just below the, around the, between the junction between the chest and the abdomen, or around the abdomen. Maybe you can do that, and then you just give them, you trust, you squeeze them from, I don't know how to say, you squeeze them like that. So whatever they are choking on will pop out. So you can do that as well. So if you try that maneuver, or you try the back slap, or you can ask it, if it's a child that can obey instruction, tell them to cough. So just like that, cough out, cough out. Just tell them to be a good cough, a very big one. Sometimes they can cough out. That would take care of some of those choking. Or if you can do the chest thrust or abdominal thrust, we call it Emlich maneuver. All these things, I always encourage parents to learn first aid. And there are lots of first aid training online, and it is free. It teaches you what to do for all this. And we also have our own first aid booklet. I'll see whether I can share the QR code somewhere. I think it should be somewhere in my on the studios with me. I'll try and share it. You can also download that. It's available free and it's online. It tells you what to do for all these common emergencies. That's what we've been doing in ATP, going to all the schools, secondary schools, teaching the students what to do in emergencies like this, and giving them like a small booklet that they can use to remember. Somebody is choking, somebody is having a burn, somebody has got a splinter. How do you deal with those small emergencies? So that's what you do in that particular scenario. So, but the best option is to avoid a child choking in the first place. So please make sure that when we're feeding our children, let's feed them very slowly, and let's not rush them. And let's also supervise children. Let's not give them toys that they can choke on. Let's not give them nuts. Let's not give them things that are small round bits and stuff that can come apart. Let's not let them play with batteries. It's amazing the kind of things children can put in their mouth. And at that age, they explore everything with their mouths, actually that age between 0 and 3. So you want to avoid it, but when it happens, you can do that. So a child who is choking, a child who is not breathing or is breathing fast, or a child who has collapsed, you don't know why, it's like if they fainted or they are not responding, that you have to go to emergency room. Of course, most of us know that. Child who is having convulsion, a child who has had a serious accident, they fell, or a child who fell and hit their head, they have head injury, and after that they start vomiting, or they start bleeding, or having water coming out from their nose or from their ears. Those are emergencies. Those are hospital. And I just want parents to know, because I get a lot of comments. I can see the questions that are coming up. I will answer your question very soon. But let me just round up this emergency scenario. I see a lot of parents telling me, oh, my child is sick, blah, 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 but I think I'll go to hospital tomorrow. Now, let me just tell you that hospitals work 24/7. We work 365, 366 days a year. That's our hospital. I'm not talking about your health center. I'm not talking about clinics. I'm talking about hospitals with emergency room, aka general hospitals, teaching hospitals, federal medical centers, even some comprehensive health centers, they work 24/7. So if a child is sick, this excuse will normally give and say, okay, I'll go to hospital tomorrow. It's not true. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You can go to hospital that same time. Of course, if it's not something urgent and all that, is fine if you want to wait till the following day. But usually, sometimes I also don't know why parents will wait until the night before we start worrying. And then you now start telling us what to do. And they will tell you, take your child just oh, it's already late, so there's no transport, there's no days. Health issue is life and death issue. It is not a convenience issue. Some of us will treat the health of our children as convenience. It is not. We're talking about a child who is vomiting, who is getting dehydrated, and you're saying, oh, I'll go tomorrow. No, some things cannot wait till tomorrow. get a taxi, get an ambulance, and go to the hospital. There are doctors who are on call. That is why they are on call. That's why they stay in the hospital. That's why they don't sleep. So that when you have those kind of emergencies, they will be there and to handle your children. So if you are one of those parents who tend to do that, I want to encourage you to stop. And if your child is already sick during the day, please just go to the hospital. Don't wait until the night. When you now see it's getting worse, then you now, okay, we'll go tomorrow. Some things don't wait till the following day. I'm telling you the truth. I've seen parents, one of my privileges of doing this work on social media is I've cried with people I don't know before on social media, in my inbox, and people will tell me my child just died, and from things like diarrhea, and you begin to wonder, why would my child die from something like so simple like diarrhea? This is not cancer. This is not, those kind of HIV or things that these are like everyday thing, that some people just take for granted. But children can die from diarrhea, children can die from malaria, children can die from pneumonia. They look so simple and straightforward and treatable, but importance of coming to the hospital on time. If you don't come to the hospital on time, children don't have as much reserve like adults in dealing with some of those issues. So I will leave my so basically I don't give the excuse of it's already 10 p.m., it's already 9 p.m. It is never too late to go to the hospital. You can always go to the hospital any time of the day, even at 2 a.m. You get in the car and go to the hospital. Call a taxi, let them take you to the hospital. It's never too late to go to the hospital. I hope that is helpful for someone who needs that information. All right, let's go to, we have a question from Awoyera. Say my 7 weeks old spill out milk after feeding. We call that reflux. It's called reflux and it's very common in babies at that age. It's nothing to worry about. Yeah, it can happen say she burps immediately but spill out gradually. Yeah. So when you feed your baby, you should try and keep the baby upright for up to 30 minutes. So if your baby is spilling after 20 minutes, it means you already put the baby down. So it is not just the bopping. The bopping is just letting out the hair. Because sometimes when the hair wants to come out forcefully, it can also bring out some milk along with it. I think I've explained why babies are prone to reflux. If you are a common listener, you will know that already. So babies, number one, the stomach is so small. It's smaller than my fist, and the space between the mouth and that tummy is also very short. And what you're feeding them is also liquid, which means it can run. It's not like solid that can sit down in the tummy. And babies are actually lying flat. So you have a small tummy, you have a short distance between the tummy and the mouth, you have liquid kind of food, and then the baby is lying flat. So it's a recipe for the milk can go back to what's to complicate it for them. There's what we call sphincter, or like a gate between the what we call the food pathway, the esophagus, and the stomach. It's supposed to close, so that is why you can eat with your head upside down. You can eat your head upside down because when the food passes through the esophagus into your stomach, the sphincter should close it and the food cannot turn back, in adults. But in babies, that sphincter is not yet fully functional. So, and of course, the food is also liquid, so it's easy for you to bypass it and turn back. So, babies are naturally prone to reflux by those physiological reasons as well. And so, what you normally do, which is to make it easier, is to use gravity. So, when you finish feeding your baby, keep them upright, hold them on your shoulder, put them in their car seat, and teeth is vertical, so that basically you are keeping the baby in a upright position. The chances of the milk coming, it will still come back. It's nothing eliminates it completely, but it reduces the chances. So at least the milk has started digesting, it has become a little bit curdled up. So if at all a little will come back, it will be small. And it's also varies in some babies. Some babies actually have what we call severe gastroesophageal reflux disorder. So most babies just have the normal reflux, a little bit come out, baby is fine, baby is gaining weight, baby is otherwise well. Those ones are okay. But some babies have very severe reflux that almost the whole milk is coming out, and no matter what you do, upside down, whatever, it doesn't work. So for some of those babies, we have to give them medication to kind of we give them some medication to kind of help again reduce the chances of that reflux for them. Sometimes we have to thicken some baby's milk. So we have what we call breast milk thickness. So you add those thickness to your milk to give the baby. So the milk will kind of stay down. So sometimes if a baby is losing weight because of reflux, that's what we do. We give them medications, like the one we give to people who have ulcers, and then we also give them milk thickness and all that. But most babies don't get to that point. Most babies just have the usual reflux. And the good news is that as baby gets bigger and they get older, this distance begin to widen, the sphincter become more functional, so they get better. And then by the time you switch them to solids, when they start taking complementary feeds, reflux is almost not an issue anymore, because now they are eating solid, they are bigger, and they're now sitting up, they are not always lying down. So reflux then, by the time babies are 1 year old, we don't even think of reflux anymore. So it tends to get better. It's nothing to worry about. All right. Esther is maybe a 4-month-old. So sorry, before I come back to Esther, I just saw a little bit of your answer about your baby being hungry all the time. How do you know your baby is hungry all the time? Did your baby tell you I'm hungry? Now, let me quickly answer that part before I go to Esther's question. Now, babies cry all the time. Baby can cry all the time. It does not translate to hunger. But I noticed that most mothers always take a baby crying to mean hunger. It is not true. And if you follow that logic, you are going to overfeed your baby, and you're actually going to make it worse with the reflux, because what it means is that baby will be overfed, and babies like sucking. Babies don't always suck because they are hungry. They also suck just because they want to suck, because sucking is a pleasurable activity for babies. In fact, sometimes when we want to do procedures for babies, like take their blood sample, something that will be painful, we just make them suck on something, suck on a dummy, suck on maybe glucose water, because that sucking can provide them a pleasure, and then they forget the pain that we're inflicting when we're taking their blood sample. So babies don't always suck because they're hungry. Babies don't always cry because they're hungry. So if you have just fed your baby and you fed baby well, your breast is empty, baby is full, that baby is not hungry until another 3 hours, max 2 hours if it's a very hungry baby. But baby can be hungry in 20 minutes. So it is not every crying or every looking for breast that should be translated as hunger. And the reason why I always stress that, because most mothers, this is why a lot of mothers don't do exclusive breastfeeding, because they think, oh, my baby is hungry, even though I've fed the baby with breast, the baby is still hungry, and then, oh, my breast is not enough, then let me go and buy formula. It is based on lack of understanding of babies and their physiology and what they do. The baby cry for everything: when they are happy, when they are sad, when they are tired, when they want attention. The only language they will speak is crying. It doesn't always mean hunger. I don't know why mothers always think the only cry is hunger cry. No, it's not. And the fact that baby wants to suck all the time does also not mean baby is hungry. Baby just also want to suck. They want to feel their mother. They want that security that you are still around. You are not left them. So sometimes they need all that. And they know that the only way they will get you is by looking for the breast, because they know the breast is attached to you. So as long as the breast is there, then the mother is there. So because you are the only one that have the breast. So those are the reason why babies go on the breast all the time. So don't always mean that means your baby is hungry. The most objective way to know your baby is getting enough breast milk and your baby is having enough breast milk is their weight gain. It's not depending on how much they cry, it's not how much they spend on the breast, it's how much weight they gain every time you go to the clinic for your immunization. So let me just quickly correct that. Hunger. Baby who is having reflux all the time is not hungry. That baby actually may have too much of food, and that's why it's bringing out part of it. Okay. So Esther is saying my baby of 4 months old like tilting her head to one side. She can move her head to both sides, and she can. So tilting the head to one side, we call it torticollis, and but usually it will be tilted to that side almost permanently. So of course baby can move it, but it will always be like, either to the left or to the right. And usually there are many reasons for it. Some babies are born with what we call shortened neck muscles, and some babies, so if it has been present from birth, it's most likely from one of those possible causes. But if it has not been present from birth, there are many other conditions, infection, anything that has to do with the airway and the neck and all those areas, they can also make baby to tilt their neck. Sometimes as they get older, some babies correct it on their own, or we treat the underlying cause is correct. So if it's not so bad, and you can just watch and wait. If you're worried about it, you can see a pediatrician or even a physiotherapist, so that they can just work out which one it is. But the good news is that most babies tend to outgrow the so especially if it's a congenital one, the one that the baby is born with, or whatever is the underlying cause is dealt with, and it will tend to resolve on its own. So I won't worry so much about it. Okay, Instagram people, Miss Sumi, good evening. You're welcome. All right. So if you have questions, I'm still here. I still have about 25 minutes to go. Feel free to reach out to us and ask your questions. But if you're after the live session, that is also not a problem. You can always post your questions on our Facebook group 24 hours every day, Mondays to Saturdays. And we will try our best. So our group is an health education information group. It's not an hospital. It's not a replacement hospital, but a lot of parents like to ask us health issues, questions. My child is feeling not feeling well, and then ideally, if your child is not feeling well, we expect you to go to the hospital, but because you have asked us, we just feel like we have to answer. And sometimes, if we think the best option is for you to go to the hospital, just go. Don't feel bad. A lot of parents always wonder, why did doctor you're a doctor, you're a pediatrician, I've asked you questions. Why do you tell me to go? Why don't you just tell me what to go and take? That's the most common way of asking questions. What can I take? What can I give? There are lots more that go into prescribing medication for children, into treatment, than just the fact you have said 2 lines. And because on Facebook we won't be able to do that back and forth. I won't be able to ask whether your child is allergic to penicillin, for example. I won't be able to do a long consultation. I've not even seen your child, so I can't just say go and use that. That is wrong. And a lot of us do a lot of self-medication. Parents, it's also wrong. It's not the best for our babies. So some things, even though I have an idea what is it, I still need to see the child right in front of me, or we need to do a full consultation. Okay, somebody's asking, how do I see ATP pediatrician in PH? Okay, you won't see ATP pediatrician in PH. Okay, so we don't have physical structures like hospitals, so you can go to any of the hospitals in PH, that's as a pediatrician. For example, your University of Port Harcourt teaching hospital, we definitely have pediatricians there. I don't know whether there are other general hospitals as well. So there are a lot of hospitals that you can go to have pediatricians. We offer virtual consultation because we tend to have some specialists. So if you send us a WhatsApp message, I'm sure our WhatsApp number is getting displayed on the screen right now. Just send us a WhatsApp message and we'll tell you whether it is something we can actually see your child from or not. For example, the person that called us yesterday asking about a child who is breathless, who is wheezing. No, this child is having an acute asthmatic attack. That child has to go to the hospital. We're not going to nebulize your child through the phone. We're not going to nebulize your child. But at least we're able to tell you what to do. So we don't run like a physical hospital. So that is that. All right. Guys, I have a question. Okay, everybody is waking up. People are joining us now. Good evening. Felicia say, can I mix pap and formula for baby of 6 months? Yes, you can. You can do that. But please, I want you to first of all go to our Facebook group. Go to the guide session. For those of you who always ask, where's the guide? Where you must be on the full Facebook app. I don't think you will get it if you're on Facebook Lite. You have to have, download the full Facebook app. Once you are in our group with the full Facebook app, once you see the picture of our group, the next thing you will see are all those menu icons. You will see guides. You will see what's the other one? Media, albums, all those kind of things. So menu. So you will see where the guides are. Because in that guide, there's a guide too on how to go about infant feeding. There are lots more to feeding a baby than just missing pap and milk. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. And I know I've thought a lot about that. But so when parents ask me this kind of question, I'm a little bit skeptical to just say yes or no. I actually want you to go understand the principles of complementary feeding, because sometimes if you don't know the principle, we just think, okay, you don't. If also know the principle, you will not need to ask. That's the point. So while you can give your baby pap and milk, that is not the only thing your baby should be taking. And I don't expect you to give your baby pap and milk 24/7 for the next 6 months, which is what some parents do. And that's not an exaggeration. We know that's what some parents do. That child is at risk of malnutrition, of the sugar baby syndrome. There are more food that your baby needs to take. So your pap is just carbohydrate, milk maybe a little bit of protein and calcium and all that. But there are other things that that child needs to take. So we want you to really understand that, and we don't want babies to just be taking pap and pap only. So please, you need to go to our group, go to the guide section and go through. We have about 5 or 6 videos there that were made by Global Health Media. Very lovely videos. They did those videos, you know, using food that you have in your kitchen. You don't need to actually buy any formula, to be honest, and all that. And please, I don't like you using um your friends, your family members as your authority. Most of them don't know better than you, honestly. So people will say, my somebody said this, somebody that it doesn't matter who the person is. As long as the person is not a pediatrician, the person is not a nutritionist, it doesn't matter what they say. They are only telling you what they know. And they may be wrong and they may not be right. So I always prefer you do your own research yourself. And this is, to be honest, we don't have an excuse in our own generation, because we have AI, we have artificial intelligence. You just ask that AI, how do I feed my baby at 6 months? How do I go about this? It will tell you everything. It will give you all the breakdown, because it will go search and bring all the things that people like ATP, WHO, UNICEF, all of us have put a lot of information online on how to feed your baby. So it should just bring it all to you. And you just need to read through it and you will know. So don't even bother with what anybody tells you. Go and do your own research, do your own due diligence. And we've tried to bring those information in small bits, videos, articles. I can't remember how many times I've talked about complementary feeding. I still talk about 40 eaters this year alone. So go through all that and then you will know what to do. All right. So there's no issue about using formula or sugar and all that, but that's not the whole that is when it comes to complementary feeding. You don't have to do them. You don't have to use sugar. You don't have to use formula if you are breastfeeding your baby, because you can use your breast milk as well. So that's why it's not a one-way traffic kind of answers. Is what I find helpful is when you understand the principles, or what are you doing, what are you trying to achieve. It make life easier. So don't follow your sister's idea. Go and do your own teaching. Your baby is already 7 months. You need to know more, because I will be worried if the only thing this baby has been taking is just pap, whether it's pap and formula or pap alone with sugar. I am worried, because that's not complementary feeding. That is just pap feeding, and there's more to complementary feeding than pap, and there are lots of other things that baby needs to take. All right. So your baby cries when you give her swallow but eats other food. What swallow are you giving the baby? Is it any swallow? How hard, how soft it is? So babies can eat any food you have in your kitchen, but the texture matters. So for a baby who is just 7 months old, I'm not going to expect you to give them the eba or the apple that you are eating in that way you will normally eat it. It has to be something very soft. And then you are thinking of making sure you're adding your vegetables, whether it's your like green leaves, ewedu or okra, whatever, in a way that will be easier for the baby to swallow. So you're not going to give that baby eba the way you will eat eba at 7 months old. All right. And there are other ways you can still give the same food in what we call age appropriate texture. Again, boils down to what I'm saying. You need to understand the principle. So there's a quantity, there is a texture, there is a frequency, there is a combination that goes together. So, and if your baby doesn't like a particular food, you don't have to give it. There are other things the baby can eat. So I want you to really make sure you understand that concept. And for a 7 month old, you are actually just starting complementary feeding. Hopefully that's just about 1 month into complementary. So the baby may not have gotten to that level. So you don't also have to rush everything. You want to give the baby the same day you start, you want to give them everything you are eating. No, it's not going to work that way. It's a gradual build up. and it's a gradual process. And so I really want you to go through that and get that understanding. So if you go to our Facebook group and just ask this question, or I want to know how to go about confirmation, somebody will signpost you to all the guides where we have all the videos, the article, everything, even including question and answer session, everything you need to know about complementary feeding. We've put it together in that group of posts and videos, and once you go through it, you'll become a pro, and there'll be no need to worry. All right, I hope that's helpful. Onyinye, sorry, Josiah said good evening. My baby of 2 months had this cough that I refused to go for how long? So when you say something I refuse to go, we need your baby is 2 months old. So as the baby because the baby is just 2 months old anyway. So as this cough been there for 2 months, I need to have timeline. It's always good to tell us when. I know parents, you just like to say things the way it's in your mind, but for us, we like to work with a little bit more of facts and figures. So if you tell me your baby is having cough, I want to know how long the cough has been there. So that is very important. And if your baby is not having fever, baby is no difficulty with breathing, okay, that's good. She's been taking vitamin C. Okay, vitamin C is not the treatment for cough anyway. So I need to know how long the cough has been there. Some babies may have, obviously you had cough, so most likely you infected the baby. So it could be a viral infection. Most viral cough can last up to 2 weeks. So because you've not told us the timeline now, that's why it's so important for us to know the timeline. So if it's a viral infection, it can last up to 2 weeks. So if anything more than 2 weeks is too long. Okay, so it's become chronic cough after 2 weeks. So for chronic cough, you have to see a pediatrician, because there are other causes of cough beyond just catarrh, which is why I don't know why you're giving vitamin C, and which is why it's also important to see a pediatrician, because like I said, if it's just one of those, I'm coughing, my baby started to cough from viruses, within 2 weeks they should clear. So, but if your child is coughing so long, we need to look for other causes of cough. Babies can have holes in their hearts. I'm not saying your baby has it. I'm just giving you another scenario. Some babies have holes in their hearts, and the only way they will know is that they have cough, they're having what we call heart failure, and because of that they cough a lot more and all that. So any condition that is going on for too long, don't dismiss it as it's maybe good to have a pediatrician have a look, and that may be the first time they will discover there is more. So everything is not always infection, it's not always malaria. Sometimes there is more, and it's always good to get a pediatrician opinion. Yeah, if it has been there for 1 week, yeah, that's what you just said is that's why I always like to ask mothers to be very specific, because you said this cough has refused to go. A cough of 1 week is it's not really that long, madam. I know for you it's really long, because obviously you want it to go in one day. Okay, so but when you say a cough has refused to go, and I was thinking, see, a cough has been going on for months or years. And then, anyway, then I know that your baby is actually 2 months. So I know that no matter how long the cough has been, unless it was present from day one, it's not even longer than 2 months. So anyway, it's good that you've told me now it's just 1 week. I will not worry about a cough of 1 week. It may take up to 2 weeks, because when it comes to viruses, they run their course. So when a virus entered, it will do all it needs to do, and then it will go by itself. And that process, you can't stop it. You can't do anything about it. We don't treat viral infections, so that's why it's good that we don't have any fever, it's not having any other issues. So and you already told us that you also had cough, so most likely it's a virus, and those kind of infection, they are going to go by themselves, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you just have to wait for the 2 weeks to lapse and for it to clear. But if it doesn't clear in 2 weeks, then that is when you come and see a pediatrician. What you can do now is to prevent it from happening again. So all of you that are coughing, don't come near the baby, including the mother. But I know you have to breastfeed the baby. So what we normally recommend for a mother who is coughing is that you wear face masks if you have to breastfeed your baby. All the people that are going to school, they're going to catch cold and cough, catarrh, don't let them come near the baby. Don't let them carry the baby. Let them wash their hands. Remember all that we're doing during COVID period. That is how to limit, because babies usually are fine if they are home. So, but most of the time, it is people that have gone outside that have caused all the germs that bring you home to the baby. So you have to make sure that you limit the baby's exposure to such people. You make sure you're breastfeeding your baby exclusively and on demand. Exclusive breastfeeding boosts your baby's immunity. That's what your baby needs, not the vitamin C. It is the breast milk. If you take the vitamin C, your baby will get the vitamin C from your breast milk. It is the breast milk that will give the baby what we call antibodies. And because since you have already had that cough now, your body has produced some immune response to it. So when you breastfeed your baby exclusively, you are passing those antibodies to your baby to fight that infection, because your baby is not yet making as much antibodies like you, because you have had experience, you've been here longer. So, and everything you make is passed to your baby through breast milk. So that's why we want you to exclusive breastfeed your baby. Keep your baby on exclusive breastfeeding. Keep the baby away from people who are coughing, who have colds and catarrh. Don't take the baby to the kitchen. All the smoke, they just irritate the baby's airway as well. Don't, I hope nobody is smoking in your house. Generator fumes. I know sometimes there's no light, but please make sure your room is farthest away from the generator. No burning of food, burning of all this palm oil, frying and all that. You don't do it near the babies, or it's possible not at all. And of course, what else? All this perfume we spray here and there. When you have a baby, you want to avoid them, because those are things that irritate babies their way and that can make the cough worse as well. So just follow all the preventive strategies and your baby will be fine. Instagram people, no questions today. All right. So yeah, I hope you're happy. Don't worry, your baby is fine. Just 1 week. Just give it another 1 week. If it's not gone by then, you can see your pediatrician for further evaluation. But I won't worry so much. All right. So for let me just round up the scenario I was talking about in emergency. So I've talked about anything that has to do with airway, choking, anything that has to do with breathing, fast breathing with difficulties, hospital straight away. Convulsions, hospital. A child who is having diarrhea and they're not able to drink. If your child is having diarrhea, give them ORS, give them oral zinc. If you're giving them the ORS, as long as they're drinking it, it's fine. I don't worry about the stool. Most parents worry about how do we stop the stool. Don't give tetracycline, don't give diastop, don't give flagyl, don't do all that. Just give ORS. The most important thing in diarrhea and vomiting is to replace what the child is losing. And the child is losing not just only water, the child is losing electrolytes, sodium, potassium, bicarbonate. So we need to replace it. That's why we give ORS, not just ordinary water. As long as you're doing that, your baby will be fine. Because what kills the baby is the loss of water, the dehydration, and the loss of the electrolytes. However, if your child is unable to drink, child is vomiting, the ORS, the child is unable to drink, it's an emergency. You have to go to the hospital, because children goes into shock very fast. And when you come to the hospital and your child is in shock, and it's so hard to get a line on them at that time. But if you come to us on time, we can, it'll be easier for us to get the line. And so we don't want you to wait until they are in shock or they are collapsing. Or the child is telling you, I'm thirsty. If the child that can talk, or their lips are dry, they are crying, there are no tears, they are going into dehydration. They have to go to the hospital. If they're able to drink, just give them more rest. But if they can't drink, you have to go take them to the hospital. If a child is bleeding, no matter from whatever cause or whatever, you have to take them to the hospital as well. All right. I still say, when does a child start rolling over? It's about 5 to 6 months. It's 5 to 6 months. The 4 roll from the back to the tummy, and then tummy to the back, but roughly around 5 to 6 months. So if you want to know more about normal milestones in children, you can go to our website, www.askthepediatricians.com. There's an article I wrote on Is My Child Development on Course. Now, for us as pediatricians, because there's a wide range in when babies do things. So when we tell you babies roll at 5 to 6 months, that is average. 50% of babies will do that. Some babies will roll before 5 months. Some babies will roll until 8 or 9 months, and it's still within normal. So, but there's a time that it will get to that even the pediatrician we are worried that, okay, this one now we've given you enough gap and you are still not doing things. So when you go to that website, what we've written there, because we don't want you to panic unnecessarily, they are the timeline at which point a pediatrician will be worried. So if a child, so most children will work at 1 year. All of us want them to work for their first birthday so that they can stand and take pictures. However, we will not worry about a child who is not working at 1 year. I will only worry when a child is not working at 18 months. Because we know some babies will work at 12 months, some babies will work at 14 months, some people work at 15 months. They are all still normal. Okay, there's something wrong with the baby who is working at 14 months. It's still within normal, even though the mother wants the baby to work at 1 year for her birthday photos. All right, so but if the baby is not working at 18 months, then I will be worried as a pediatrician, because that is now developmental delay. So if you go to our Facebook group, or our website, we've put there the timeline when you need to come and see a pediatrician. So if at 3 months your baby is not able to do this, if at 6 months your baby is not able to do this, if at 9 months your baby is not able to do this, if at 10 months your baby is not 1 year your baby is not able to do this, come and see us. So those are the ones you will see. Most often than not, if there's something wrong with your baby, they would have done most of those things at that age. So, but if your baby, so we tend to go for what we call moderate to severe delay. We only worry about those children who have actually significant delays. But children who are just mildly, they're a little bit slower than normal, just give them time. They will get there. But if it is moderate to severe, yes, those are the ones. So, for example, a child who is not yet sitting at 9 months, not yet, I will worry. So those are the timeline that which will worry. But I mean, it's okay. Maybe it's 5 months, it's not yet rolling. Just give it time. Most of them, maybe by the time you come again in 6 months, maybe it's already rolling. You don't need to worry. So I just want you to understand, and the way I always tell parents is that we are not all dangote, okay, but we're also not begging as well. So it's everybody, you have your own money, even though you may not have it at $10 level, but you still have your own money. So that is how it is. So some children may do things a little bit early, some may do it a little bit later, but they are still within normal as long as they are doing it. So that's what we worry about. So don't worry too much. And I know we compare a lot, but just know that everybody is running their own race, and there's no price for. I know lots of others like to boast about the babies working at 6 months and working at 7 months. We don't give any prices for babies that work at 7 months. If the baby is working at 14 months, as long as the baby is working, we are happy. So don't let anybody pressure you, you just let the baby be. But when you get to those cutoff points, then you can come and see us. Okay, I guess this will be my last question. Amarachi say my baby will be a year in 2 days. He used to have noisy breathing. Okay, have been admitted in the hospital. Okay, treated for pneumonia because suspected pneumonia cause test was not carried out. We don't need to test to make a diagnosis of pneumonia. Pneumonia is a clinical diagnosis. We can make a diagnosis of pneumonia without doing blood tests. I just want you to, because some parents, I know we try to encourage us to do blood tests, but most medical diagnoses, we don't need blood tests. Sometimes we do those tests to confirm what we already know. It's just a confirmation. It's not like we need a blood test or an x-ray or whatever. Most pediatricians, we're going to make it that, or GP or doctors will make a diagnosis of pneumonia without doing any test. The child is having fever, the child is having cough, the child is breathing fast. We will listen to the chest, we can hear crepitation in the chest. That is all we need to make a diagnosis of pneumonia. We don't need any other information to make that diagnosis. So, and I guess that is what they did in your baby's case. All right. So the question is, what is causing the noisy breathing? Did they tell you what is causing the noisy breathing? Pneumonia has nothing to do with noisy breathing. Okay, so noisy breathing tends to do with the airway. Okay, so it's either there is a adenoid that is enlarged, or the tonsils is big, or this narrow airway, or whatever. So noisy breathing is not a pneumonia case. So, okay, let me explain this way. So the airway starts from your nose, then it goes into what we call an open space called the pharynx, and then which splits into, so the the airway is in the front, so it goes to what we call the trachea, and then the trachea will branch into two. We call it the bronchi. Don't worry about those jargons, but I'm going somewhere. I'll get there very soon. Then that will now break into the bronchioles, which ends up in the lungs, and the lungs are made up of alveoli. So this airway, we break it into two. So we have what we call the upper airway and the lower air. So from your nose down to your trachea, thereabout, we call it the upper airway. And now from the bronchioles down, most of the lungs, we call it the lower airway. Now, pneumonia is a lower airway infection. So the problem is in the lung, in the tissue itself. Now, adenoids, tonsils, they are things that block the upper airway, or maybe if your child taking, maybe take a wrong thing into the airway, aspiration and all that. So those are upper airway issues. So what you're describing, noisy breathing and all that, we tend to get that a lot with the upper airway. Whereas you say your child was admitted for a lower airway and was treated, but you are still worried about the noisy breathing. The noisy breathing is not coming from pneumonia. The noisy breathing is an upper airway problem. So we need to know, and there are many things that can cause upper airway noise. We have what we call laryngomalacia. We have the all those, anything that can block the upper airway, can cause that noisy breathing. So what your doctors need to do is to, if it is really coming on more, they can send you to the ENT doctors, because the ENT doctors tend to deal with the airway that is upper, ear, nose, and throat. So they can figure out what is causing the noisy breathing. I just want you to understand that pneumonia your child was treated for is not the cause of the noisy breathing. The pneumonia has nothing to do with the noise. Okay, when we tend to get a lot of noise, it's an upper airway problem, not a lower airway problem. It may not be a major issue. Sometimes it is even like some children, their upper airway is a little bit soft. It is not very strong, and because of that, like laryngomalacia, so when they are breathing, there's a lot of, most of us, for adults, your airway is very rigid, so hair is flowing, there's no moving here and there. But for children, when it is still soft, any hair blowing here and there, it moves. The airway is very flexible and soft, so you hear a lot of noise. There's actually nothing wrong with the child, it's just the structure of the airway. But that's why sometimes we give them calcium and all that. As they get older, the airway becomes a little bit more rigid, and those noise will go away. And so for those kinds, we don't really do nothing, we just wait for it to go. But actually some children may also have what we call enlarged adenoids, enlarged tonsils, and they can also block a little bit of the airway. So when noise is going through, when the hair is going through, you hear a lot of noise because it's narrowing the airway. And depending on how big it is, sometimes we just watch and wait if it's not causing a problem. But some are so bad, it's almost blocking the airway. In fact, some children will stop breathing. They will forget to breathe. They have what we call obstructive sleep apnea, and then then they will suddenly realize that, oh, I'm not breathing, and the brain will send message to them, you stop breathing, and then they wake up again, and then they start to breathe. And sometimes if it's getting to that point, the surgeons will have to go and take away those adenoids, because sometimes we just leave them because they may actually go smaller on their own and you don't need to treat them. But if it's causing infection, if it's getting too big, it's causing sleep apnea, it's causing you to go in and out of hospitals, we will have to operate it and take it out. So I'll recommend, because obviously you are worried about it, for you to ask, and it's been going on for long, you're worried. So I would recommend getting an opinion from the ENT doctor, because they can do an x-ray, look whether there's something blocking the airway. They can look, with the instruments, or sometimes they will just go and do an x-ray proper. And if they think there's something there, they will tell you what to be done or what you can do. So, but don't worry so much. I'm sure just ask your doctors to do that referral and your baby will be fine. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. It's been wonderful having you here, and I hope you've learned one thing or the other. However, if you still have any questions about any health issues of your children, I'm a pediatrician, so I abide by my own calling. So try and post your children health issues to our Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group. However, if you have adult health issues as well, we actually have ATP Family Facebook group. We are not as strong on that one, but you can see post your question. At least we can tell you what to do. We have our family physicians, our gynecologists. They can help you. They're actually very busy people, but they can help you. But when it comes to children health issue, you can post that on Ask the Pediatricians, adult health issue, ATP family. We also have first time mom group and other groups that you ATP still a mom. So feel free to post any question that you still have to our group, and we promise to try our best to answer them in less than 72 hours. Sometimes it take up to 72 hours because we're all working with volunteers. So thank you for understanding and bearing with us. And please make sure you always listen to our teachings. So like when I'm answering questions, I'm very cognizant of time, and I know that some question people ask, if I start talking in details about them, that is a whole 1 hour teaching on its own. So we can't do that on ATP Live Monday. So, but for you to get those kind of detailed teaching, we tend to do that on Thursday. So we'll pick a topic and then we'll go into details. So this year, and it's not just me, all my colleagues as well in the different specialties. So like Dr. Pedro talked about refractive errors. So people like us are using glasses. If some of you, your children need to be using glasses, so you may want to go and listen to that. I've talked about fussy eaters because I know it's one question some parents always say, my child is not eating. You may want to go and listen or watch that as well. And last week I talked about what to look out for when you're picking playgroup, crèche, nursery school for your children, so that you make sure you go for something that is safe and not something that is just fancy. Safety first. So you may want to watch them. They are available on whichever platform that you're watching on right now, on Facebook, because we don't take them down. They're on Facebook, they're on our podcast channel, YouTube channel. Just search for those topics, you see them. So all right, so watch out for what we're going to talk about next week. And thank you so much for every one of you joining us. We really, really appreciate you. So watch out on Thursday. Before then, have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I myself or any of my colleagues will see you on Thursday for another beautiful teaching on an important topic that has to do with the health of your children. Till then, have a wonderful evening, and it is bye. Bye-bye.